Hello, beautiful soul. It's your show host, Regina Huber from Transform Your Performance with the same website, transformyourperformance.com. And today I'm tuning in from Hialeah, Florida, United States. If you met me before, you know by now that I'm a passionate, adventurous, eclectic nomad with a business based in New York City and very passionate about traveling. It's raining today here, so if you hear the rain in the background, I hope that sounds soothing to you. My eclectic life and experience on 5 continents has allowed me to become a multicultural and multilingual transformational leadership coach and inspirational speaker. And because I have seen such a multitude of sparkling brilliance in women all over the world, I have made it my mission for this show and for all its episodes to inspire you to ignite a fire wherever your path leads you, to move up that light dimmer switch and leave it as high as possible and shine your brightest light out to the world so you can increase your influence and impact. And in this way, influence and impact your income positively, of course, which then allows you to live a more fulfilled life. This is your show, What's Your Spark? What's Your Spark is about how you can show up more powerfully in business and in leadership and sparkle your unique leader brilliance out to the world. Beam like a dazzling star with it and shine with such a bright spark that people have to put on their sunglasses when they look at you. I want to kick today's topic off with a very warm welcome, as always, of course, and then next with a question. Are you a courageous leader? Do you know? How do you know? Are you sure? Are you unsure? Today, we'll be going through a list of attributes of courageous leaders. So we can explore what that actually means. Yeah, so get your journal or notebook ready to take notes and find out if you're one of those courageous leaders and how you can become one. What is a courageous leader? Well, last year, I wrote an article about courageous leadership for the Corporate Magazine. You can find it online. It's a very timely topic, don't you think? And today, I want to share some of the thoughts that I presented in that article, where I listed and described characteristics and attitudes that I consider intrinsic elements of courageous leadership. Let's go through these characteristics together. Are you ready? Okay, let's start. Courageous leaders are visionary. They are not afraid to say, I have a dream. Even when this dream looks like a phantasmagoric ideal that is currently really hard to imagine. They have a courageous vision, one that might not be immediately obvious to others, one that might even seem impossible to others. They dare share their dream anyway, even if others think that they are a little cuckoo or just completely over the top. This is why they are also usually innovative. They are open to experimenting, to taking risks, even if they might be ridiculed at times for taking those risks. And the following is a big one. Courageous leaders dare to self-discover to gain greater self-awareness. They don't fear seeing aspects about themselves that they might not like. They courageously address those aspects and take joy in doing so because they are always focused on their own growth. They have a self-growth mindset, we could say. They constantly practice self-inquiry. They don't look away when they see a flaw in themselves or a shortcoming. They always look to self-improve. They question how they come across, how they are perceived by others. They don't take it for granted that they are perceived as they want to be perceived. They question their own assumptions. They look at their own shortcomings and as opportunities for growth, for learning. And they are self-aware, and they are not afraid to be vulnerable. They know that self-awareness is empowered vulnerability. They know that understanding self is absolutely necessary to better understand others, and that self-knowledge is the prerequisite to transform. Because here's the thing, leaders who transform themselves are the ones who will transform the world. Courageous leaders lead from a place of ethical integrity. If they are courageous in the true sense of the word, we're going to talk about that later. They don't lead for the money, but for the impact they want to make, although they might get money for it, which is fine. It's great to reward this leadership, right? They stay in alignment with their purpose, even when this means material loss. Positive impact is more important to them than financial gain. They are not corrupt. They are not corruptible. Yes. Courageous leaders do not depend on validation by others. They stand their ground, and they are not afraid to say green when others say blue, or to say red when others say yellow. They dare to be controversial. Their intention is to serve those they lead, serve the vision they are trying to implement, and to potentially also serve other people and causes, right? Apart from those they lead directly. Rather than worrying about what others think about them, they want to be able to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, I think highly of you. I respect you as a leader. And they want to be able to say that to themselves without hesitation and believe it too, right? Courageous leaders use their leadership position or their leadership ability to be the voice of the voiceless, even when it's not that popular. These days, many leaders adorn themselves with the names of causes they don't even truly care for. And they use the causes more for their own purpose than for the cause itself, than for the benefit, right? They use it to enrich themselves or to upgrade their public image. This is not what I mean. You might have guessed that, right? What I'm talking about is leaders who truly help the voiceless have a voice, but they never speak for them without asking them for permission and without getting their input first. Okay, maybe with the exception of children who are too young to know, or you know, if we stand up in leadership for animals or for other aspects in nature or whatever it is, right? But when we talk about adults, we do not speak for them unless they ask us to. Yeah. It's important to remember that patronizing is not the same as advocating. They are very different. And we cannot act in the best interest of those we represent if we don't know what they think, if we haven't asked. Making assumptions is not enough, and it can go in the opposite direction, right? Courageous leaders inspire through high vibration energy. They pay attention to their own energy and cultivate a high vibration so they can encourage and inspire through it. They are aware that their energetic presence speaks beyond their words, and it even speaks louder than their words and faster than their words. We talked about this in a past episode. And they use this energy to inspire, but not to manipulate. Courageous leaders act with a clear intention and they are transparent about their intentions. They may change their minds, of course. We all do sometimes as we learn more, as we grow, as we know more. But when they do, they will do so because there's a good reason. And they will communicate that reason, or they communicate their change in mind at least. It's not that they constantly adapt their view depending on what favors them the most or what others say, though. They stand their ground, they stand up, and they stand for what they believe in. Courageous leaders are present with others. They are purpose-driven, not self-interest driven, which shows in how they interact with others. It doesn't mean they have to forget about themselves. No, not at all. But if they have a true interest for the cause they stand for, then there's no question about that anyway. And they listen to what others have to say to contribute, even if these others may not agree with them. Courageous leaders are brave enough to admit when they make mistakes or need help. We all do sometimes. Yes, they know that perfection is a myth and that perfectionism is actually counterproductive to getting results. That's why they are open to bringing in others to complement their own skills. They're not afraid to surround themselves with brilliant people because they don't fear their competition. In fact, they have no need to compete because knowing themselves well has made them realize, help them realize that everyone is unique and for a good reason, just as they are unique. And high self-awareness has made them aware of their own unique brilliance, their own genius, which helps them live it more freely and use it more to the benefit of their projects. Courageous leaders do not tolerate corruption. I mentioned that before. They don't back down to corruption attempts. They don't bow to lobbyists, and they don't sell their souls. They will not compromise their values in exchange for money or other benefits, personal benefits they might receive. Yes, they don't even have a particular hard time with this because corruption is just not an option for them. This makes them fearless in the face of bribery attacks and strong enough to resist its temptation, the temptation of those attacks. Yeah, even when the corrupt path seems to be clearly the easier one. They speak their truth, even when it means swimming against the stream, against the mainstream. See, courage comes from the heart, and the heart knows the truth. Corrupt leaders know they are going against the wisdom of their hearts. They ignore that wisdom, or they're just callous enough or cowardly enough to not even consult their hearts. Courageous leaders look the truth in the eye. They are brave truth seekers. They don't bury their heads in the sand, pretending that some of the ugly truth that they fear to encounter does not exist. No, they are brave enough to face what they come across. And they ponder on ways to deal with it. Yeah, they step forth fearlessly. They take action. They seek help from others, and they often work tirelessly for their cause and to eradicate the ugly symptoms they see around them. Yeah, I'm sure this is something that will take on a whole new dimension in the next few months and years as more and more ugly truths are coming to the surface and will be known by larger groups of people. Courageous leaders take on the challenge of confronting those who are trying hard to hide these truths. They don't fear taking on difficult tasks and fighting for what's right. Courageous leaders are not afraid to recognize their limitless inner power because they have gone through a process of thorough self-discovery. And that's also how they know about their inherent power, their infinite potential, and its value for their work. They have also learned to use it. And here comes the best part. They are not afraid of that inner power in other people either. They respect the right of each individual to use this inner power. They even encourage others to see and recognize that power in themselves. For example, their team members. Courageous leaders are not afraid to share positional power, which is external power. They are unimpressed by hierarchies and titles. They have no need to compete or need to be authoritative. They don't feel threatened by other people's greatness and successes. They understand that competing is a huge waste of time and energy, and they see no value in it. And so they are more likely to favor partnerships over hierarchical relationships. Courageous leaders allow others to shine. They celebrate other people's greatness. They celebrate their successes, their inventions, while celebrating their own as well, of course. They don't need sunglasses when they stand next to brightly shining people like you, dear viewers. Quite the opposite. Their eyes love seeing others sparkle, people like you sparkle with their genius. And they even encourage them to step into the spotlight rather than dimming it down. On the other hand, courageous leaders are not afraid to stand out themselves. You may have heard me say, leaders don't blend in. Leaders stand out. And standing out requires courage. Again, this isn't only about being seen as a leader or a candidate for a leadership position, although distinguishing yourself as a leader is key if you want a leadership role. It's also about standing out as an intrepid leader, to stand up for causes that might not be popular, especially in our current world environment, which is such a critical phase for humanity. Courageous leaders lead from the heart. See, in many languages, the words heart and courage have the same root. For example, in French, cœur, courage. Yeah, cœur is heart, courage is courage. Or in Italian, cuore, coraggio, same root. Or in Portuguese, coração, coragem. Or in Spanish, corazón, coraje. Okay, coraje also means anger in some countries, but still it also has that original meaning of courage. And the list goes on. Even in my mother tongue, German, the old word for courageous, which nowadays is mutig, the old word for courageous, yes, which is mutig nowadays, was beherzt, which also comes from Herz. And Herz is heart, of course. You might have guessed it. Sounds really similar, right? These words have the same root for a good reason. The heart is where we most easily can find courage and bravery. It's the source of our courage. Courage originates in the heart, while fear originates in the mind. And it's of course not that the mind is just in our heads, but that's what we usually point to. The mind is also in our entire body, right? Courageous leaders are warriors of the heart, and their warrior personality is compassionate, yet strong. Courageous leaders strive towards a new business consciousness, which is driven by partnership, evolution, inclusiveness, compassion, and love. Not the old, outdated consciousness, which still prevails in our world, in large parts of our world, but is now being pushed aside more and more gladly. A lot of our current consciousness is still fueled by fear, threat, and pain. What we want more of is co-creation, more co-creation and less competition. We want connectedness, oneness, and unity rather than more separation. And the truth is we are all one anyway, but we don't always live this universal truth. We want more peace for all. See, courageous leaders have no need to defend antiquated structures and paradigms that keep the same groups in power positions and systematically exclude others. Why don't they have that need? Because they're not a part of it, and they'd much rather see less of it. They thrive on positive change, not just for self, but for humanity. It's also important to note that courageous leaders are not the same as confident leaders. We have a lot of confident and even overconfident leaders who are far from being courageous or heart-centered. Yes, confidence certainly has a role in leadership. It has its place, and we need confidence to become effective leaders. But what we really need more of in our world today are courageous leaders. Everywhere, whether it's in organizations, corporations, communities, including families, right? Politics. Well, in politics, unless some courageous leaders lead us to a point where we need no more politics, right? I think that would be nice. Who knows? Maybe there's such a future. There's such a future for us in store somewhere, soon. Who knows, right? That could happen actually as soon as enough people become courageous leaders of their own lives and their own communities. Don't you think? I have this dream. Interesting thought, right? So here's my question for you. Are you one of those courageous leaders we need more of? Could you be one? Could you become one? Feel free to read my article in the Corporate Magazine. You'll also find a link to it on my website, transformyourperformance.com. Just go to the bio/press page, bio/press page of my website, transformyourperformance.com. On that page, you'll also find many other articles. For example, the article I wrote on the new consciousness that I was talking about earlier. And on that page, you'll also find other resources such as podcast interviews, radio interviews, TV interviews, all of the good stuff. And if you'd like to stay connected, go to my other website, transformwithregina.com. Again, that's transformwithregina.com, and scroll down and click on the blue button on the bottom to receive additional resources in your email. There's also a free Career Accelerator mini course there for you to sign up for, absolutely free. My YouTube channel, Regina Huber, also has several playlists. About career advancement, leadership, and more. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what it looks like. Let me share my screen so I can show you this YouTube channel. This is what it looks like. As you can see, there are many playlists. Let me scroll down here. Let's see if it lets me scroll down. Yes. And the first playlist you see on top is called Career Advancement for Impact-Driven Women. There's a whole series of very useful videos you can use to advance your own career. Lots of tips. Yes, about energy, about solving problems, getting unstuck, about corporate loyalty and codependence and moving through that, about how to get paid, what you deserve, right? Good one, and many, many more, because you cannot even see all of them here. So there's a longer list here. Yes. Then we have more playlists. The second one is called, well, this is going down too fast. Second one is called Upgrade Your Life and Career. Again, lots of valuable tips and specific tools as well that I'm sharing here. Learning how to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, being the change you want to see. What does this even mean? How to bring out your currently potentially latent talents and use them in your favor, exploring your potential, so-called time management, which I never call time management. It's priorities management, right? You cannot manage time. And I talk about that too and give you some tools to manage your priorities and to do it strategically so you can advance in your careers or with your businesses. And then there's another playlist called Harness Your Heart's Intelligence in Business. I love this one. So really connecting with our hearts can give us so much more power. The What's Your Spark LinkedIn Live series, and so much more. I hope you find some value in this YouTube channel. If you do, give the videos you watch a like, maybe comment on them. It's always great to see your comments and your questions, and subscribe to my channel. So many free resources. Also check out my book, Speak Up, Stand Out and Shine on Amazon. It gives you a bunch of tools on how to show up more easily as a courageous leader, with tools to prepare mentally, physically, and energetically for challenging leader situations and really any situations in business. Again, that's Speak Up, Stand Out and Shine on Amazon. And about courageous leadership, if you have any other ideas of what was missing in this list that I presented to you today during this episode, I would love to hear from you. I would also love to hear your own stories about your or someone else's courageous leadership that you have observed. Just email me at regina@transformyourperformance.com, and I promise I will reply. Now, I look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday, same time, same place. And in the meantime, keep your light dimmer switch in its highest position always. Don't let anyone bring it down. Keep shining, sparkle away like the precious pearl you are. Because always remember, the world is your oyster, and it is your realm to be the brilliant self that you came here to be. And dance music to your day today and sparkle